Hey everybody, this is Perch. Something I did touched a bit of a nerve with some people. I had a video where, exasperated was the tone. People reading into, Perch is really pissed or Perch is tired and drunk. Sadly, none of those things were true. Perch was just exasperated, and it was on this "Is Catwoman Black" video, and to me, I find the question so pointless because I'm not sure what's being asked. Anyway, a couple of you wrote in, and I'll read two of the responses. It says, "Dear Perch, I don't know why you got so worked up over the person's question of is Catwoman black? Why can't Catwoman be black?" See, right there, that's a different question, and I think that. I'm not trying to interrupt the rest of my mail, but that's the exasperating part. Is Catwoman black? Is different from why can't Catwoman be black? Okay, is Catwoman black? No, factually, no. But a colorist one time colored her with darker colors. I like how people will pull out images of characters where the character is clearly in shadow, like complete shadow, and they're like, see, character's black because it's like that. No, that's shadow, regardless. But is Catwoman black? Factually, no. Can Catwoman be black? Sure. I mean, in any number of ways, she could be black. You could retire the current one, have a new one. You can go into the multiverse, get a black one. You could have a science experiment, like whatever that machine Lois stepped into back in the 70s or 60s, whatever it was. And she could turn black. She could have a magic Zatanna could turn black. Like there's almost literally 100 ways that she could be black, but that's a different question from is she black? And uh, bigger than that. Well, let me read the other mail. It says, "Hey Perch, what's wrong with fans believing that characters can be anything they want them to be? Isn't that the very definition of fandom? If a character wants to believe Catwoman is black, what's the harm in that?" Well, none other than they're wrong. There's no harm in it. Um, so I think where all this gets to is, first of all, you just have to separate, kind of the rules of the game from what is possible. And the rules of the game are I guess, written history. Like, is Superman, Clark Kent, Mexican? No. No, he's not. There's been, thousands of stories. Is he? The funny thing is, you can make. I think a more legitimate factual argument would be: is Superman white? Technically, I mean, by appearance, sort of, but he's Kryptonian, like he's alien. Like in many ways, this entire racial construct doesn't work at all. I mean, for all we know, the word for Kryptonian is Mexican. Who knows? I mean, no, that doesn't make any sense. But the point here is, I think there's history that has been written it is what it is. Now you can write a story where a hero or villain or both or whatever go and they alter time, and then for whatever reason suddenly we live now in a dimension or reality where Superman's Mexican and then he's Mexican. But you can't say, like, is the Superman from the 50s Mexican? The answer is no. We know this. There's proof of that. But could there be a Mexican Superman? I mean, sure. There's like a bug Superman. There's a horse Superman. There's a Superman that's evil. There's a Superman that's, he's immune to kryptonite. There's a Superman who wears a wizard's cape. You have, like, there can be literally anything, and that is the magic of comics and maybe the curse of comics, in that anything is possible. But anything is possible does not mean that history is changeable. History is still history. And I think, one of the things about fandom is that they can create their own headcanon, their own beliefs about things. Like, as a fan, I believe fully that, Donna Troy is a lesbian. Why do I believe that? I don't know. She kind of looks that way in the pages, and a couple of panels, she's kind of, looking at Starfire like, I'd like to tap that orange ass, whatever. And, you could certainly say, all right, in my headcanon, my belief, Donna Troy is a lesbian, hates men. The only problem with that, literally the only problem with that, is that you have to then ignore several comics that have been made where, she's after Dick Grayson. Or, other, there's lots of pages of comics where she's either chasing after or in love or in a relationship with a man. Now, again, your headcanon can say, well, she was just faking it. She didn't really feel it. She was doing that for the camera. As soon as like the panel changed. I mean, this panel wasn't drawn, but as soon as the panel changed, she's like, oh, gross, boys. Who knows? I mean, you're welcome to believe whatever you want to believe, but there is at least some historical record. And I think I think that people I don't know why I don't know if it's an insecurity. At the end of the day, that's what I feel it is. Um, that you can believe anything you can believe. No one is stopping you. And as a creator, if you want to come in, if you're Scott Snyder and you're like, the thing that is really important to me is that there's a Mexican Superman, you can make a story like tomorrow. DC will let you do it. If over an Absolute Batman, there's a guest appearance by Mexican Superman. I mean, the editor might be like, I don't know what you're doing here, but okay. Like no one's gonna stop you. No one. You can do whatever you like. Um, and that's fine. As a fan, if you want to make fan fiction and make your own comics with Puerto Rican Wonder Woman, like what? Again, there's nobody is stopping you, and that's in theory a good thing. Nobody is stopping anyone from doing all this stuff. But history is still history. It's kind of like this whole issue, and I know I've done videos of this in the past. The Bobby Drake is gay stuff is to me a challenge because there's lots of comics where he is clearly not gay. And if your argument is, I mean, put it this way, I'd have a much easier time of having this debate with people if they said, hey, look, I acknowledge there are lots of panels where Bobby Drake seems to be in love with a woman and seems to be straight. But there's a bunch of stuff that wasn't happening on the page. That means he was secretly gay, and then Bendis came along and wrote him as gay, and then future writers wrote him as super gay. Okay, fine, but at least acknowledge history. The people that drive me nuts are the people who clearly don't read comics, are trolling out for attention. Who knows? Like the people who are doing the Catwoman is Black, and then they post a picture of Catwoman, like in purple and green light, stylistically, and it's like, see, she's black, or a multiversal, picture of a multiverse picture of Catwoman where she's got like a big afro, but it's clearly a different character. But in the movies, look, we've had white Catwoman, we've had black Catwoman. Again, I think the fact that you have those things proves you can do anything you want. Again, nobody is stopping anybody. Everything is possible. There's a difference between everything is possible and it could happen, and this is how history has always been. I wish people did not feel this compelling need to go back and actually like rewrite history. Like, I don't know what people are trying to prove by that. It to me, it feels feels insane. And I don't know what the purpose is. Just gay, not gay, like all this stuff, black, white, there's comics that define this, that state this. And if you want to write new comics, you're free to do so, but those are two different things. I don't think it's, some people alluded to, it's not racist to say that Catwoman is not black because it's not an ist of any kind. It's a history-ist. That's not a word. But we know this. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what the character is. I feel like people create these weird proof points, like, well, because there's a story at one point where one colorist colored Catwoman in shadow, and therefore she's got dark hair, and clearly, having dark hair and shadow means she's black. And when is the comic? You point me to the panel that says that where the Catwoman shows up and says, "I am not black." No, who would write that panel? That's insane. That would be like me saying, Black Panther, T'Challa is technically white. And you're like, no, okay, that's stupid. That's a stupid comment. It's like, yeah, well, show me the panel where T'Challa says, I am not white. Huh? That panel doesn't exist. That panel doesn't exist because nobody needs that panel. It's fucking obvious. I think, again, it is, I take, I don't want to say take the whim, but look, comics can be for anyone who wants to read a comic can read a comic. Okay, that's another fallacy that went on. Thankfully, I don't see a lot of people talking about that. It's like, certain of us were barred from comic stores. No, you weren't. Sorry, no. Full stop, no. If you're uncomfortable in the comic store, I don't know what's going on. Maybe that's a shady comic store. I have no idea. But if you would like a list of comic shops, I can give you dozens and dozens and dozens of shops that would love your money. You could go in, you could buy whatever you want. Nobody is stopping you. There's not a purity test when you come in the door. You can do it. Okay. Um, with characters and storylines and yes, canon. Because by the way, if you go to like this is common on Reddit where people are like, oh, why is canon important anyway? Well, because it's history, because it happened. And as comics have shown and proven very clearly, you can change history. You can change canon. You can retcon stuff. You can insert other things. You can do anything you want going forward. And plenty of creators do. There's lots of examples of creators, and like Bendis with Iceman. You can certainly do it. But what you can't do, you can retcon, you can update the history, but you can't erase the history without new stories. So, again, for example, if you want to write a story where a villain goes back in time and changes things, a la like Flashpoint, then you can have a whole new history. But it means, that timeline is different, characters are different, but you can't just erase what's happened before. It happened. You have to deal with it in some form or fashion. So no, Catwoman's not black. It's not a big deal to me, like, superhero. I love the insinuation, like, oh, you're saying superheroes can't be black. What are you talking about? Storm, Black Panther? I know many of you get sick to me saying this, but Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel, one of my favorite Avengers rosters, and definitely like that character. Definitely like that character for the MCU. They MCU'd it up. But you have Black Lightning, and don't give me a tough start on Tony Isabella, but you have lots and lots of I mean, like, yes, there can be black superheroes. Should there be more? I'm sure. I'm kind of in the boat of I'd like more compelling superheroes. Period. Like full stop. Any race. Compelling is the word I'd like to use over any particular race or gender or anything. Just good. I like good. You give me a good woman, lesbian, black superhero. Cool. Good. Good is the operative word for me. But I just find it's just silly and weird to say, okay, these characters that have thousands of issues and appearances, they're different now because I interpreted the coloring on the page the way I wanted to. Anyway, all silly. But what? But nobody is stopping it. Like this fight there's no fight. Nobody is stopping any of this. But history is still history. Thanks for listening.